Right. So let's discuss about you having a breakup with someone. You walked away. You decided enough was enough. And they still did not care. They did not care that you decided to break up, to walk away. When you complained about things going wrong, they did not acknowledge their mistakes. They only blamed everything on you. And when you finally walked away and they're no longer in your life, you feel the sudden void in your life as if everything finished. There's nothing left in your life. You are the most unhappy person. The world just ended on you. Everything has finished. There's no future. Have you felt like this before? If you have, know that it's trauma bonding. That is trauma bonding. You might feel that it's the most bizarre mind F that happens with you. You did not expect this. You expected to have the weight lifted off your shoulders. You expected to never feel the pain that you were in with them again. And yet, when they're actually out of your life, you want them back. You want them to come back and destroy you, even if it means that they come back and destroy you, but you still want them back. The key with this is it's a feeling that your brain creates because of the lack of the dopamine that they have left. With this relationship that broke down, your brain does not know where to get that dopamine from. Now, tell me if you resonate with this or not. Tell me if I'm right or not. If you felt this, I'm 100% sure you would have felt these things. When you were in a relationship with this person, they started with a bang. It's like a teddy bear, the best thing ever, a fairy tale, the best man or woman ever, like your dream come true. But this is where red flags begin. As soon as they achieve you, they start investing in you. Investment is the beginning of that relationship. You feel like, oh, but they're booking my holidays. Oh, but they bought me so many gifts. Oh, but they're so cuddly. Oh my God, they understand me. They do this, they do that. As soon as you fall hard and fast for them, that's when the mask starts falling off. But your brain only remembers the best that they gave you. So your brain gets the dopamine hit when they do the breadcrumbing. They'll give you the absolute minimum. Now, the one thing to realize here is that the absolute minimum for them, the threshold for that keeps on decreasing. So from them being the absolute best person in the world, now goes down to, like, say, 50%. They'll stop doing all of that, but once they see that your interest starts going down, they'll start breadcrumbing you, like a little bit of a hug, like a small gift. And then your dopamine in the brain goes higher. And then you feel like, oh my God, the best person ever. You know what? They might be going through through something difficult in their life. You know, it's normal. You know, it's a new relationship. You know, it's easy. It's easy to misunderstand someone, especially if it's a new relationship. Right. So then you start seeing the red flags more and more, because then they start doing some shady things. Their phones, they start hiding their phones. And then you'll feel like, maybe I shouldn't be that nosy. And then they'll start blaming it on you. And then when they see you withdrawing again, they'll breadcrumb you even more. But this time, from that 50%, half of it. And then you feel like, you know what, new relationship, maybe I'm being nosy. Yeah, and then you go through what's some reels and you see what the boundaries of a relationship should be like, and you should never be behaving this way. And then you feel like, oh, self-doubt. And then you feel like, but they were this person to begin with, and that's the potential that your brain keeps high in regard. That is what the brain never forgets. And that is what your brain thinks this person is forever, even when they aren't. So the more and more you start drifting apart, the more the breadcrumb. But now there's only so much a person can keep the persona on, like on a fake persona on for that long. And then your brain suddenly becomes so addicted to them. The dopamine hit, the lows. The lows is when you feel like, oh no, they're just not the same person that you married, or you're in a relationship with, or you fell in love with. But the dopamine hits when they start breadcrumbing you. They do like the smallest thing for you, and you feel like, wow, you know what, maybe I am misunderstanding them. And then when enough is enough, let's say you've gone to the point where you decide to walk away, and you decide that it's over. You finally realize your worth, and you finally come to the point that whatever comes, I will overcome this pain of separation, and I'm gonna do parts, like I'm gonna part ways with them, and that's enough. I've had enough. And trauma bonding happens just after you've overcome the initial shock, and then your brain wants the same dopamine hit. Let's say you weren't into exercising, let's say you weren't into creative activities, which you probably weren't because of the kind of relationship that you were in. That's the kind of dopamine you wanted, and you cut off yourself from every other dopamine sources. So anything that your brain gets the hit from, like the high from, it could be the bad sources, it could be the good sources. So if they were the source of dopamine for you, you are now wanting to go back to them. You want to break the no contact. You are the one who wants them to come back, and you are the one who starts apologizing, and they'll be the one who'll start withdrawing, trying to show that, you know what, you've done enough back to me. You know what, I've had enough. You know what, I did not deserve you. Or sorry, you did not deserve me. And then, I've had enough from you. I've done more than enough for you. And then, you were never ready to change. And then you start feeling like, crap, I should have never complained against them. I should have never stood up. I should have never raised my voice. Now you start doubting yourself, and now you feel like, am I actually stupid for feeling like this? Once you ride over the tide of the trauma bond, you realize, how stupid was I? Like, how was I reacting like that? Why did I even behave like that? Why were my boundaries so low that even a small breadcrumb was enough to give me a dopamine hit in my brain? But it's okay. You're a human being. And the fact that you're trauma bonded is that you are a good person. It shows how much you invested in them, emotionally, physically, financially, whatever. You emotionally invested in them so much, that now, even with what they have done, you seem to blame yourself. Are you being right in doing this? Absolutely not. But then, were you the good person in this relationship? Absolutely yes. So this just goes to show what kind of a person you are. It does not show what kind of a person you should have been. You should have been the best person ever in that relationship, which you did show up to be. It's only unfortunate that the person that you fell for wasn't the right person for you. So should you actually start disregarding everyone else in your future? Should you start bringing your faith down? Now you could say that, am I being unlucky? Am I a wrong person? Did I deserve this? Was I so bad that I deserved this kind of a relationship? Well, no, because, when you look at it spiritually, you don't know what your life has decided to teach you. Sometimes relationships is the way life wants to teach you in this particular life. So these are the lessons. There are some lessons that life is going to teach you through relationships. So the lessons that you learn after trauma bonding is to keep your boundaries high, to love yourself enough, to never trust someone to the point that you keep your eyes shut and let them do whatever. This world is just not good enough for that kind of a trust. Trust me, you would want to wake up every day keeping your eyes shut and thinking, no, I want to trust my spouse. I want to trust my relationships. But if you look at it with a wider angle, this world is just not ready for that. Not at this age. So if you love yourself enough, if you don't let anyone touch you in a way that it destroys you, burns you, that is the way that you need to start living, as sad as it is. I learned it the hard way. My boundaries were so low. The problem is, I'll tell you one of the biggest problems and one of the toughest, I would say, like, I have learned a lot of lessons recently, but one of the toughest lessons that I've learned in my life is, once you've been through an abusive relationship or an abusive situation, you tell someone that, you know what, I went through this, I have been a victim, I have been an abuse survivor, and this happened to me. And especially when you're recovering from it, you're not fully over it, the people around you who are narcissistic or have narcissistic tendencies will see you as an opportunity. They could be your friends, they could be your relatives, they could be potentials for potential relationships. Once you go on dating, you tell them, oh my God, I went through this. And if it's a narcissistic person, on the other hand, they'll do absolutely everything to trap you because they know that you're in a vulnerable situation. It's so painful. It's so painful if you think about that. It's like they see you as an opportunity. They don't want to protect you. I don't know how much percentage in this world is the protectors league. It's like, I have gone through this and I certainly don't want other women to be going through this. I want to protect other women along with myself. I want to break this tradition of learning how to, accept abuse. You're married for so long. Why don't you just continue for the sake of kids? Why don't you continue just because you're married? That's nonsensical. If you're going through narcissistic abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, it could be financial abuse, it could be that the other person is actually a criminal. Should you be going through that? Absolutely not. Keep your head high. Go through whatever trauma bonding you do need to, because this is where your lessons are. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be so hard because then you're going to see where your boundaries were so low, that you did not love yourself enough. You really thought you did, but you didn't. And now you'll start to see that whoever you tell the story to is probably trying to take advantage of you. Not all of them, but many of them. So let's say you're a woman and you had an abusive relationship with a man, you'll also see women trying to take advantage of you, and the so-called women would be your friends. It's the hardest thing I've learned here, and it's so difficult to say no, because we as kids, especially in the Indian society, were brought up as the society to be disciplined, to be saying yes to everything, to be respectful to elders. At that time, maybe it was correct, but while we were growing up, there was so much abuse that we saw that was so difficult for us to say no to. And now I learned it the hard way that, as harsh as it sounds, it's important to say no when you feel that your gut feeling is not with you. If someone is trying to make you do something that's out of your league, out of your ethics, just say no. Because it's better to be safe than sorry, like my dad always used to say. And I thought that, you know what, it's easier to have faith in something. But then life is, as beautiful as life is, life can be very cruel if you don't learn the lessons the first time, because the second time the lessons are going to be harsher and harder. So, no, you're not stupid if you feel trauma bonding, but you will ride through the tide. You will feel the harshest of the trauma bonding. If you truly love that person, it's going to be massively hard. It's going to take months or days or years. It really depends on how much you love them or how quick you found how bad they were. And then once you're over it, you start healing. And then you realize you weren't stupid. You were a good person. But now, stop being blind to what people can do to you. Do not let this happen to you again. God forbid if this happens, you know where to lie, like you know where to draw the line, you know where to not forgive someone. So let's talk about forgiveness, like a very short one. People say that you should forgive someone because you have the weight off your shoulders and that's how you should live. So are you going to forgive someone and then you then move on to something else and then you feel like, well, that's okay because I forgave this in the previous relationship? Absolutely, you're not forgiving the person, you're not forgiving the crime, and you're not forgiving the situation. What you're forgiving is yourself. Do not forget that you are forgiving yourself, because if you're not forgiving yourself, this is where the weight in the shoulder lies. Do not forgive that person. Do not forgive that situation, because they made you into a person you never wanted to be. You had to bring your boundaries up so high. You had to break your faith and your trust in people. That's unforgivable. So you do not forgive them. You forgive yourself. You do not call stupid yourself. You're not stupid. Don't forget that. Love yourself and live a happy life, an abuse-free life.